Welcome to Inside Texoma on this Sunday morning. Today I'm joined by Stephen Garner, who is the chairman of the Lake Wichita Revitalization Committee, and Tom Lang, who is a fisheries biologist with Texas Parks and Wildlife. Good morning, guys.
Morning, Melissa.
So today we are talking about the revitalization of Lake Wichita. Let's talk a little bit about what this committee is and what the goal is here.
The City Council appointed back in May of 2013. There was an interested group of people that approached the City Council at the end of 2012 wanting to do something with Lake Wichita with devastating drought that we were in the middle of and continue to be in the middle of. They just felt like this was the time to do something with Lake Wichita. So we approached the City Council and said, you know, we'd like to get the Lake Wichita Committee reformed. There had been two prior groups that had gathered a lot of information and looked at lots of different opportunities for the lake, and just unfortunately nothing substantial was done, and we just felt like this was the time to do something. So in May of 2013 they formed a committee and gave us an 18-month charge to come up with a project that they could look at and say, wow, this is something we'd like to get done. And so the committee met once a month, and it was an open meeting. We had lots of people coming in talking about what they'd like to see at the lake. We had several presentations about potential projects at the lake. And we, for the first time, were joined in the committee by Lakeside City. And so not only do we have interested parties from here in Wichita Falls, but also from Lakeside City, because they've got a real vested interest in the lake and the property and the recreation as well. And over the course of that time, we were able to put together a really extensive project. After meeting with the Corps of Engineers, they actually came out and did a site visit and assured us that they were very interested in us doing something with the lake. And so we made our presentation at the the budget meeting that the city had in the spring of 14. And they just were absolutely amazed at the project that had been put together by the committee.
Well, we definitely are going to dig into exactly what is in that project. But first, I kind of want to look back. Lake Wichita has a rich history. Let's talk a little bit about what it once was before we get to what we want it to be.
Sure.
So let's look back.
Well, Lake Wichita was built in 1901. Joseph A. Kemp led a charge to change a law with the state of Texas so that they actually could use public funds to build the lake. And so it was built in 1901. It's the third oldest lake in the state of Texas, behind Lake Austin and Eagle Lake by Houston. And being that it was really the only lake of its kind up in this part of the world, it's really makes sense that it was known as the gem of North Texas. So it had great fishing, a lot of social and recreational significance for our community, but also simply as a water supply. You know, if Lake Wichita hadn't been built, who knows how big Wichita Falls would be today or what our history would have been. This is a significant portion of our heritage. And we had the pavilion out there. A lot of folks love and think fondly of the pavilion, and a racetrack, and had a trolley going out from downtown out to Lake Wichita. This was a significant portion of who we are has come out of Lake Wichita being there.
And now the pavilion, am I correct in that, burned down?
It did.
So, and then what else happened to some of the surrounding areas there that kind of made it what it is now?
Well, first off, probably the biggest thing that's happened out there is just the fact that it's 114 years old. It's a man-made lake, and as a fishery scientist, I can tell you we don't expect lakes, reservoirs to last really more than 100 years. When they're first built, they're going to sediment in. There's things that are going to happen, and just over time, they're not going to provide the benefits. And so Lake Wichita really was doing pretty well. And then on top of the 100 years, the aging process, in 1995, they had to rebuild the dam and lower the spillway. And lowering the spillway took 1,000 acres off of the top of it. Took it from a 2,200 acre lake to a 1,200 acre lake to where it is now. We have basically 4.5 foot of average depth. And so we have significant fish kills on a regular basis, die-off events of the fish. And anybody that's lived around the lake in the last decade is well aware of those happening. And so when you've got a lake that's in that shape, it's either reinvest in it and fix that lake and bring it back to prominence, or just let it go. But the fact is, a lot of people got to realize that it has there is a cost associated with just leaving it alone. And so the question is, do we leave it alone and continue to pay for the maintenance of the dam and things that have to be done and not get really any recreational benefits out of it, or do we step up as a community and decide to be courageous visionaries just like Joseph Kemp was back in 1901 and reinvest in our lake for another century? And make no bones about it, when we're talking about this project, we're talking about a century's worth of benefits to our community to come out of it again.
You know, one of the things I want to answer, you talked about some of the rich history of the lake, and when the lake was built, or excuse me, when the lake was, the dam was put up and the lake was filled in, and they went to construction out there with the pavilion. There was a hotel out there, there was a racetrack out there, there was a ball field out there, and people came from all over the United States here for events at the lake. There were large 4th of July events out at the lake. There was plenty of recreation opportunities at the lake, and it was just a wonderful place for people to go congregate. And we as a committee just feel like we are missing as a community that opportunity, and it's just an incredible asset waiting for someone to just step up and, like Tom said, for visionaries to come in and look at 100 years worth of benefit to the community, not just what can we do today and enjoy for a month or 2 or 2 or 3 years or a decade, but I mean a long-term benefit from what goes on at the lake.
Absolutely. Now let's talk a little bit about the drought, because obviously that has had an impact on the lake as well, correct?
Certainly it has. You know, in 2012, we lost all the fish that were in the lake. And part of that was because of drought. We had some golden algae issues, but we also had drought kills. For all intents and purposes, you look out there right now and it seems like there's quite a bit of water in it. But look a couple hundred yards out in the water and you see that tumbleweed sitting out there. It's sitting on the bottom. It's not very deep. And so it's all but gone, so to speak. The fisheries resources are dead, but it can come back. And what the drought has done for us, the drought and the fact that we can drain that little bit of water that's left in the lake by the way the dam was rebuilt, what that does for us is it means we can excavate that lake. And by excavating the lake and with the fisheries resources being gone, we can get a permit a lot easier and a lot less expensively. And we can also pinpoint how we want to dig it out. And by pinpointing where we want to dig it out, we can make it more of a drought resistant lake. We can have it where the water during drought times will recede to deep channels. And by receding to deep channels quickly, it'll lower the evaporative rate. We'll have a smaller surface area for the overall water that we have in there. And that smaller surface area means it'll evaporate less. So it's really going to be a more drought resistant lake. We understand where we are in this part of the world. Droughts come and droughts go. And to be able to engineer a drought resistant lake is pretty cutting edge. And that's Wichita Falls, again, being on the cutting edge, leading the nation. That's a pretty cool deal.
Absolutely. Now, I'm sure the question you get all the time is, with the drought, why now? Why is this such a big priority? Why are you doing this when the water is an issue? That's
a great question. Like I said, it's going to be a lot easier to do. It's also, as far as permitting goes, but it's also going to be a lot less expensive. If you want to go and deepen a lake and you can't do it when it's dry, you're going to have to move water and you're going to have to move dirt at the same time and pump it uphill and let that dirt settle in the water to come back. And that is extremely expensive. And if we were to have to do that at Lake Wichita, we would be talking about more than a $100 million project, and that's just not feasible. But now we're talking about, for that portion of this, a $36 to $42 million project. And that's within the realm of possibility. And we can make it, as I said, a more drought-resistant lake by doing it that way and being able to pinpoint where we want to do things. And so really the time is now. And it is going to rain again. We know this. We're in a flashy part of the world. It comes and it goes. And we know it's going to rain again. The real question is not where's the water going to come from. The real question is, are we going to be ready for when the water does come? A lot of folks don't realize that in 1917, Lake Wichita went dry. We had 40 inches of rain that winter. In 1918, it went over the spillway. The water's coming. Are we going to be ready for it or not?
And more recently, in 2009, water was over the dam in Holiday Creek was about 2/3 full. So that's pretty recently we had that much water in the lake. And wouldn't it be amazing if we had that lake excavated, that held more, and then we could keep that water resource a longer period of time.
We're going to talk a lot more about exactly what is in the proposal right after this break on Inside Texoma. Welcome back to Inside Texoma. Once again, I'm joined by Tom Lang, the fisheries biologist for Texas Parks and Wildlife, and Stephen Garner, who's the chairman of the Lake Wichita Revitalization Committee. We've been talking a whole lot about revitalizing Lake Wichita, and now we're going to get down into the nitty-gritty of what is in this plan. I know one of the biggest things is excavation.
It is. You know, if we don't have a lake that is of sufficient quality to support a good fish and wildlife resource, then there's really not much reason to do anything else there. We like to say that there's no wine that pairs well with the smell of dead fish. And so we have to bring the lake back. And part of that is doing an excavation where we're going to remove 7 million cubic yards of sediment. Now that's an average of 3 feet over 1,100 acres and an additional 3 feet over 383 acres. But it's going to vary. We'll have areas that are up to 12 and 15 foot deep in the lake. But again, it's an average of 3 feet over most of the lake. Looking to have an average depth of about 8 feet. A lot of folks want to know that, so now they get the inside scoop on Inside Texoma.
Exactly. Now, is that going to be a really intense process?
Yes, ma'am, it will. We expect to take about 1.5 to 3 years. We're going to have to drain the remaining water out of the lake, which I know a lot of folks go, well, you're going to get rid of water, but this water really isn't of sufficient quality. It's half as salty as the ocean right now. It's a very poor quality. If I were to stock a fish in it right now, it wouldn't survive. So we've got to get rid of that bad water and get the sediment out that we need out so that we can hold good water and restock the fish and plant aquatic vegetation and all kinds of great fish structure and other such habitat.
So there really are a lot of benefits to doing this.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
And one of the things that go right into what Tom's talked about, and with the excavation, people have asked, on several occasions, where are you going to take all the excavated material? And we've got several landowners that are geographically close to the lake bed itself that have agreed to take that. Looking at the initial estimate of excavated material and land to put it, we estimated about 950 acres, 3 feet deep. And we've been able to secure about 2/3 of what we need. And we've got a couple of landowners who have extensive land that's close to the lake that are very interested in that because it's, for all practical purposes, it's good soil. It's got nutrients in part of it, so it's something that can be used for a good purpose.
We're also interested in working with landowners to help fix our watershed. A lot of folks don't realize that salt cedar and mesquites are invasive. I know this is the Old West and we like our mesquites, but they're not from here, and those suckers drink up a lot of water. Mesquites can drink up to 40 gallons a day. And so when they're up in our watershed drinking the heck out of that water, it's not making it to the lake. So we want to work with our landowners up in the watershed, our willing landowners, to partner and to restore some of those native grasslands that we had up there. It'll be much better about holding sediment back when it does rain so the lake doesn't just silt back in, and also getting the water out of the watershed that we really need.
So definitely helpful with all the drought and everything that's going on. Now, I know this revitalization isn't just about the lake itself, it's about the surrounding area of the lake. So what's in the plan as far as that is concerned? Well,
one of the things we're going to do is if you build it, they will come, and we expect a lot of people to come. And so we have a nice boat ramp area on the east side over off of Kemp. We'd like to make that a double lane ramp with boat slips and a patio area and fish cleaning stations and just a really great public area for people to be able to boat up and access a lot of what is long-term planned as commercial development. We have boat ramps by Lake Wichita Park and also a primitive ramp over on the west side by Barnett Road. We'd like to put in one for smaller craft like john boats and canoes and kayaks that'll be able to access a lot of the waterfowl hunting areas that are on the west end of the lake. Some good duck hunting that's traditionally been out there. So that'll be easier for those folks to get there.
And to add to that, one of the things that I'm really excited about is the recreational opportunity that lake is for the community. Lake Wichita Park, which was by the big dirt mound, is just a natural place to put in a canoe kayaking trail, which one of the things we've been able to do is pair up with one of the groups, Heroes on the Water, that help our wounded veterans. We can put in a couple of launch stations in this canoe kayak trail where the guys with physical disabilities can actually get in to a canoe or a kayak and then hit the kayak trail, which would wind through Wichita Park up to the north end of the lake and then back down to one of the coves next to Pelican Point that'll be deepened and widened so that they can access the main body of the lake. The trail, the circle trail that goes around the east and north side of the lake currently, would be extended, and the city Parks Department is actually looking at 4 different places for that trail to go. The one of the 4 choices that we like best goes out into the lake completely, which is a little over a mile in length. Another one, which is a hybrid of that, goes down the shoreline from the dirt mound west towards Barnett Road, out kind of by where Larry's Marine is off of Lake Road, and then back into the water at that point. And who wouldn't want to go out on an opportunity like that, take their kids fishing, or go out bird watching, or if you're a runner or a biker, you'd want to take a trail over a beautiful scenic area over the lake. We just think it's a great opportunity for that. And then the economic development, Melissa, on the east side of the lake is just such a golden opportunity for businesses to put a place out. I can't imagine something more beautiful than sitting in the evening and watching the sunset over Lake Wichita while you're sitting out on a veranda or a porch or a bench, drinking a Coke or an iced tea or whatever it is that you wanted to drink. But have a wonderful opportunity to do that.
There's also an opportunity for beaches, I hear, as well, right?
That's right.
There are. Part of phase 1 is it'd be much easier to put 2 beach areas in the lake while the water's gone. And so we wanted to put one of those in at Lake Wichita Park with a nice long fishing jetty as well. That'll help protect the shoreline but also provide great fishing access. And then over on the east side, we'd like to extend the trail down the entire east side and then have 3 fishing jetties off of it. And the trail would end at the emergency spillway. And at the emergency spillway at that area would be another nice place to put in a beach. And so that's all in phase 1, and then that sets up the stage for phase 2 once this is complete, where we could see the city partnering or a private entity coming in and installing floating playgrounds and wakeboard park. Those wakeboard parks are really something. Some people think they're kind of nuts, that folks want to hang on behind a cable and get on skis or a wakeboard and just fly around in a circle. And looks like a lot of fun, but I tell you what, even if that's not something that you'd be interested in doing, that takes a lot of those folks, and it kind of puts them in 8 to 10 acres instead of running all over the lake, flipping and jumping. And not that they still can't do that, but it takes a lot of that activity over to one area of the lake, and it helps minimize user conflicts. It helps to have everyone have a more enjoyable experience by having a place like that quartered off over on one side of the lake.
Well, I know you guys are always looking for some funding and some support, so we're going to talk exactly about how you can get involved with the Lake Wichita revitalization. It's up next on Inside Texoma. Welcome back to Inside Texoma. We continue to talk about the revitalization of Lake Wichita with Tom Lang and Stephen Garner. And we've been talking about what we're going to do to the lake, but you guys need funding and support to get all of this done, right?
That's right.
Absolutely.
So how can people help?
Well, obviously we're going to be searching for every grant possibility that we can, but the city has other things that they need to be taken care of, and as Steve would tell you, when we started this process, there's very little funds available for it, and so it really is going to come down to private donations and corporate sponsors helping to make this happen, stepping up for our community. Again, for a century, we need to reinvest in ourselves. If you don't want to reinvest in yourself, why would anybody else? And so our partners on this project, we should mention, are obviously the City of Wichita Falls is the controlling authority. They own the lake, and our committee is a part of the City Council has appointed this committee. So the City of Wichita Falls is a main project partner. For the first time of a Lake Wichita committee, the Lakeside City is a partner, and they have seats on that committee as well. And so I think that's probably those two cities working together, I think, is why it's gotten so far. It's gone so far, and we're doing so well. Obviously, my agency, Texas Parks and Wildlife, we manage the fish and wildlife resources, and we certainly greatly care about this project. Then the Lake Wichita chapter of Friends of Reservoirs. It's a local chapter of a national nonprofit who's devoted to restoring our nation's aging reservoirs for the recreational, social, and economic benefits of our communities. And then finally, our last partner is the Wichita Falls Area Community Foundation. We're really excited to be working with Teresa Pontius Caves over there and helping to spread the good word. And so when it comes to funding, what that does for us is we have both government and nonprofit entities to help us put in for grants. And that also means that folks can donate if they feel most comfortable giving it to the City of Wichita Falls, then they can do that. There is a Lake Wichita Improvement Fund at the City of Wichita Falls Parks and Rec that they can donate the funds to, or they can give it straight to the Lake Wichita Designated Fund at the Wichita Falls Area Community Foundation. And that would be a donation to a nonprofit, to a 501c3. And of course, they would get the tax-deductible benefits to that. And so that would be towards the national nonprofit, the Friends of Reservoirs, but that money never leaves town. It stays right at the Wichita Falls Area Community Foundation. That's how that's set up.
So what is the price tag, the cost here of this whole project?
One of the things I want to kind of catch everybody up to date on is where we stand with the project. When we got this project started, and the Corps of Engineers came down and looked at, what we had left of a lake, and they said, we're in and we want to help you guys get this done. What they told us they wanted us to do was present them with a project that they could approve. They gave us a list of reports and studies that they were going to require before they issued us the permit we need to go out and start digging and excavating that lake bed. Those studies were a little over $300,000. And through the hard work of the committee and everybody that's gotten involved in this thing, and the local foundations, the Edwards Foundation, the Fane Foundation, and the Bridwell Foundation, and then the City 4B Sales Tax Board, we've been able to secure the funding we need to underwrite those. Once we get those and have the permit from the Corps of Engineers, then the $36 to $42 million price tag for the excavation and the $2.5 to $3 million for the economic development and whatever else the city decides they want to do out there. What we're going into this project is open eyes, that we understand that this is a project that's going to be funded by people like you and me, corporate sponsors, national sponsors, the grant and funding opportunities that Tom and some of the people on the fundraising subcommittee have identified. We're in the process of going after those right now. And it's just, people are going to have to understand this is a project that's going to give you and me and our children and our grandchildren and maybe their children recreational opportunities here. So we need to look at this as something that's going to benefit for such a long time. $36 to $42 million may sound like a lot of money to some people, but if you look at the benefit and break it down over the course of 75 years, that's just not that much money.
And just in doing the work, the economic impact of this project, not even when it rains and we start to get all the benefits out of it, just if we go out and do the work to fix Lake Wichita, we expect 695 to 800 jobs in the state of Texas.
Wow.
We expect 69 to 82 million dollars of total sales increased. That's a pretty dang good return on investment just from doing the work. And then we can talk about all the wonderful economic impacts that are going to come for a century. Yeah. This is really a true investment in our community, and it just makes sense everywhere, every way you look at it.
They can connect with you in a variety of ways, social media. Just let them know that.
Yes, they can go to facebook.com/OurLakeOurLife, because Lake Wichita is our community's lake, and it's certainly our community's life. So go to Our Lake, Our Life, or follow the Lake Wichita chapter of Friends of Reservoirs on Facebook as well.
And they can also go to Our Lake, Our Life at att.net and just send a contact email. And we've initiated a Friends of Lake Wichita email list, and we're keeping them apprised once a month of the activity and where we stand. So anybody that's interested, please send just a hello, I want to be involved email.
And if they want you to come out and maybe speak to any groups, I know you guys have a big
Absolutely.
PDF that you are willing to give. Right?
Yeah, they can message us on Facebook, or they can call my office at Texas Parks and Wildlife Fisheries Office at 766-2383, and we'll get that lined up, and Steve and I'll be happy to come out and give you the scoop.
All right, and we're going to have that presentation PDF available on our News Channel 6 YouTube page. Just go to YouTube, type in News Channel 6. We'll give you the link so you can get all the information. And of course, rewatch today's episode to find out more, right?
Absolutely.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to add? Any final thoughts you want to leave the public with?
I just want to say again that it was courageous visionaries that made this happen for our community in the first place. And we've enjoyed the benefits for a century here now, and it's time for us to reinvest in it. Not for you, but for your kids and your grandkids and your great-grandkids. Wise man once said the best time to plant a tree was 40 years ago. The second best time is now.
All right.
And I'd like to make sure that everyone understands what an asset the city staff has been during this whole process. Reports being generated, time being given. We continue to get, as a committee, support from the city staff every time we ask. And it's going to take everyone in this community that's interested in this project to step up, tell their counselors, we really want this. We really want something to happen. And I as a member of this community, am willing to step in and be part of it.
Well, thank you guys so much for getting the word out and letting us know where things stand. I think we all really look forward to seeing the progress on this project.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys, and thank you for tuning in to Inside Texoma.